All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. And I definitely say that from the bottom of my heart. I mean, welcome. Well, come on in because, hey, you're here at the round table. Brother Brian and Brother Marcus, each and every week here on KIEZ 106.7 FM. Hey, we're on the radio. We're also here on social media. So reach out because we're reaching out to you. Well, Brother Marcus, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning, brother.
Brother Mark, I need you to share with the people because we're still sitting at a state of shock, a state of uncertainty in our community from a local level to a regional to a national level. But it doesn't matter. I know we put out a video last week and we titled it Be the Change. But let the people know before a change happens, what we have to do when we're at the round table and we EAT.
EAT for us is an acronym which means evaluate all things. I'm going to say that again for those who may not have heard it. EAT for us is an acronym which means evaluate all things. And that's what we do here at the Community Roundtable, evaluate all things.
And that's what we do. We don't do it separate. We do it together. But we have pretty much one policy, one procedure is that we come to the round table and we agree that we may disagree, but we leave the round table and the effort to understand that what happens is for the benefit of everyone in the round table, no matter what side of town, no matter what your occupation, no matter your race, your color, religion, sex, gender, it doesn't matter. It's about everyone. Well, Brother Marcus, I mentioned about the video last week that we put out called Be the Change, but also we had a video saying buy back your block. Now, that may be confusing to a lot of individuals. What do you mean buy? Number one, that's a verb, meaning actually you making a purchase. Back, buy back your block. Because a lot of us, even me growing up, I was raised in a home, but my family, my mother, my father didn't own the home. We were renters, and we were renters for a period of time. And this is the one of the first lessons of generational wealth that we learn. If the parents are renting, we end up duplicating, or it becomes a learned behavior, and then as we grow up, we start renting. But in order to build generational wealth, you're working on something and you truly believe in doing for self. So let's talk about that, about buying back your own block.
But that's an easy procedure. When you got some understanding, you can purchase the dilapidated homes in your community, purchase land. That's if then you start to rebuild your community, and then you go forward with putting houses on the empty lots, things of that nature. It's a process, but I mean, when you get individuals that understand the purchasing of land and what it means as a group, then you can buy back your own block. That's not hard, but we haven't been talking about that. So purchasing land in our community, I mean, to be able to build homes, affordable housing in our community, we let somebody else do it for us instead of us doing it.
Yeah,
Or
but ultimately, what's the benefit to it? Because if I'm an adult males, and what's our mortality? What about 60, 70, 80 years? So say 80 years. So if I rent for a period of time as an adult and I'm gone, I'm no longer here on the earth, and versus me buying a home and I'm gone. I mean, what is the benefit?
you should leave it to the next generation. It's equity in that home. You can pull out equity once you purchase a home. Say for instance, you buy a home for $200,000, and over years of time, it's equity in that home from years and years. You can pull that equity out as cash and be able to do certain things that you want to do with it. Send your child to school, uh, purchase start a business. The equity in that home is what takes you to the next level. If it's worth 200,000 when you bought it, after a period of time, it's probably worth 300 or 400,000 if that
Mm-hmm.
community is growing. So that's what the other man gets his wealth from, his home, his assets. We don't have any assets. When you're a renter, you don't have no assets. You don't care about the house neither, or the property, because it's not yours really. So I'm not gonna go outside and beautify the apartment building or the house that I'm leasing from, renting from somebody, because I don't feel like it's mine. I think he or she should do that. They own it. I don't own it. But when you
Right.
start to own things, you look at it totally different. So when you talk about buying black to block, I mean, the land is cheap in certain communities. In our area, some lots are $2,000 and $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You know, for a buildable lot. Man, you purchase a lot for $5,000 and take another 60 to 75, $80,000 and build you a nice 1,800, 2,000 square feet home that's yours at $100-some thousand. Now you got yourself something that you can pass down to the next generation, you know, or your children won't be sleeping outside under no bridge looking for somewhere to stay because they always have a home to come to, you know.
Yeah. We're definitely talking about generational wealth, and a lot of people don't understand about, or they haven't sat. No, they do understand, but we haven't sat down and had an intelligent dialogue about how generational wealth is built. And you just broke it down. Your terminology said that it's easy. I don't know how easy it is, but it is acquired knowledge, and through that knowledge, we have to understand. When we hear the stories or the narrative that there's disparity in our community, there are elements that create the disparity, but the basic substance of it is that renting versus ownership starts the pathway to generational wealth. So, for an example, a person that rents a $200,000 home versus a person that is buying a $2,000 home, as you said, there's something that's called equity. If both parties are paying $1,500 a month, over time, the renter versus the renter continues to pay $1,500 a month. And as equity builds, or the community starts to build the economy in the community, that $1,500 rent may go up to $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 versus the person that's owning that $1,500 is going to be steady for a period of time. But also you're paying down the mortgage. And
Yeah.
each and every time you make a payment, you're paying down the mortgage. And now it becomes your own banking system. This
Oh
is
yeah.
what banks are built on assets. So now we're not thinking along those lines. So now when I do a balance statement and I ask the question, or the banker that asks the question, I want to go get a loan. They say, okay, well, what is your net worth? So now a person that's renting a $200,000 home and a person that's buying a $200,000 home, the person that's renting cannot put that rental unit on their balance sheet versus a person that is buying can put it on their balance sheet. So that builds our net worth.
Exactly. See, and when I say it's easy, I I mean it's easy because if you pool your resources, you can do it. You know,
When you say resource, what are you talking about? Because I don't have any
capital.
cash.
Yeah,
Capital.
we got capital. We according to the census that blacks in America make up 13% of the population, which is
Mhm.
30 million blacks in America, according to the census. And in that fact, we control $13 trillion come through our hands daily. But when
Mhm.
we controlling it, I mean yearly, and when we controlling it, if we giving it to somebody else and not giving it to ourselves, we can't build. We can't uh, uh, start to have a mortgage company. We need a black-owned mortgage company that's providing housing for the communities, for
Mhm.
different cities and states. But
Right.
because we're not talking about owning mortgages or building houses in our community, we just left the federal government do it. FHA, Federal Housing Administration, do it for us. Or some Wells Fargo is the leading mortgage producer in the country. They got over $81 billion in construction that's out there. They
Mhm.
receive an income every month on these billions of dollars. We can do the same thing. 10 or 15 guys or 5 or 6 guys pooling their capital that they earn from their wages and start to say, okay, well, we're gonna build one house at a time and we're gonna sell it to the oldest person in the group. We're gonna sell it back to them, and they're gonna pay us a mortgage a fee every month, and we're gonna use that money to build another one. So now you're building a system. Then you can stop saying there's a systematic racism in America, which it is. It's been there for a long period of time, and it's not going anywhere until we understand that we have to build systems for ourselves to create homes, to have lenders that can lend you $200,000 to purchase a home. Back in we just got the capability to be able to buy a home from the FHA level in 1968. That's
Right.
52 years ago. The Fair Housing Act came about. When the Fair Housing Act came about, we were able to sit down with the FHA and say, look, man, I want to purchase a home in the suburbs, as they call it. You know, we weren't able to do that. So now the communities in our area are being run down because we run into the suburbs trying to purchase a house instead of purchasing a house in the community that you live in and building it back up. So now they say, oh, we got a dilapidated community on the south side. Houses are falling down. People don't care about them. But we don't own the houses on the south side. The other man owns the house on the south side, and they renting them out to us, and we staying them for a few 5 to 10, 15, sometimes 20 years.
Right.
Getting all this equity from the house, but the house is run down. They don't care if it's meeting the standards of the community. As long as it meets but the HUD housing program where they got it on for the Section 8, then they cool with it. You know, other than that, they not coming in and fix nothing or nothing. So we got to take pride in ourselves and try to start to build houses for ourselves and build communities inside of those communities that they say are dilapidated communities.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And that's what we have to do. We have to do it together, but it starts with education. And also there's a mechanism in that entire equation called fear. Sometime in our community, we build up this self-created fear. First thing we say, well, if I purchase a home, I don't want to lose it. Well, nonetheless, if you start paying on something that you don't have the deed to it or the title to it, you will lose it. So we have to figure out a plan how not to lose it. But nonetheless, we need a roof over our head, number one. And how do we do it? Through proper financial education. It happens each and every day.
Hey, Brown, we stay in apartments that we pay $700 a month for rent.
Right.
$700 a month times 12. That's 14. That's $9,400. I mean, $8,400 a year.
Right.
Sometimes we stay in these houses 20 years, 30, 15 years. I grew up in this neighborhood. I'm still there. I'm paying $700 to $800 a month for rent.
Right.
If you stay in there 10 years at $8,400 a year, that's $84,000.
Mm-hmm.
You could have built a house for $84,000. You could, if you building a house at $60 a square foot and it's 1,800 square feet, what's that? That's 1,800 square feet times 60, 48, for $114,000. You can build a house. But if we don't know, we're not talking to each other about how to build a house, how to purchase land, then we're going to keep on being renters. We're going to keep on waiting on the FHA to give us money to borrow money from the FHA to purchase a home. We can start our own mortgage company and build this thing up to be able to provide lending funding for borrowers to be able to purchase them a home in that particular community and build the community back up. You know, everybody say they don't want to stay in certain areas in Louisiana and Monroe, to be exact, to say, oh, I don't want to stay in Booker T. I don't want to stay on the south side. Why not? Why not? They got access to the highway, got stores, you know, whatever you need on that side of the community. But because somebody else has told you you don't want to stay on the south side, it's deplorable over there. The conditions are unsafe. Nah, we make it safe by making a livable community again.
Yeah, everybody always says, I want to move to a good neighborhood. But now it's time for us to become the vanguards in our own community and create our neighborhoods into what we describe as being good or better. We can do it one person at a time, one mindset at a time. But it comes through the basics first: beautification, or prior to that, just the respect of your own community. No matter where you live, the size of it, the element of it, create it and build it up. And everything else will follow if we truly believe and love our community. So we're talking about home ownership. We're talking about building wealth. We're talking about generational wealth because it becomes a learned behavior. Take an example. If I have a young son or a grandson, 3 or 4, we go to the store. Each and every time we go to the store, and I take my grandson and he always seeing me give my money to someone that doesn't live in our community or someone that doesn't look like me, my son or grandson will start to duplicate that behavior as they grow. But if we start doing business in our own community and these individuals look like us, so people in our community will start employing people in our own community. And by that, the dollar will just gravitate from one source to the next source to the next source. So that is important in our equation, is for us to do business in our direct community. And if that product or service is not there, let the vendor know that, hey, this is what I'm seeking. This is what I request. I'd like to purchase it here if you can provide it. Or if not, I will have to go outside the community. And these are the challenges that we face each and every day, but we can't overcome them together.
The black dollar has to circulate in the community. We take it on the north side of town because they got the better restaurants, the better stores. You know,
because they have the clientele base.
Exactly. But our situation can be the same, you know. But we look at it totally different. You know, I'm ready to. We're looking at the system that I'm ready to move on up like George and Weezy. But why not stay in your own community, build it up, and then make it like George and Weezy is trying to get to, which is on the other side of town. We stay on this side of town or in this section of the city, you know, and build it gradually to where it need to be. Everybody should have a home, a nice car. You know, everybody should have that. And the government, we wait on the government to provide it. You know, and in fact, all we got to do is sit down with each other and create a system that can provide all of these things that we need because we pay the government taxes. You know, they still deny us certain things, and it's 2020. You know, at one point they were redlining us where they showed certain areas in the community. They put red dots on the map showing that we shouldn't build houses, or we're not gonna insure any houses in that area because black people stay there. That's still a racist systematic system that still exists to this day. Wells Fargo came out, the #1 mortgager in the United States came out just 2 years ago and said, yeah, we've been giving inferior loans to black people for a long time. They never gave anything back. They just said, we apologize for it. We're gonna make amends to it. We're gonna make some amendments here, and we're gonna try to allow them to now start getting affordable loans at the cost that we've been giving everybody else the loan for. What? We should stop right there and say, look, everybody that had every black citizen that had an account at Wells Fargo should have pulled his resources out of there and went to Liberty Bank. You know, Liberty Bank is a black-owned bank, and say, okay, look, we're gonna put our monies in this bank. Now we're giving you enough capital to be able to say you want to be a bigger bank doing a lot of more mortgage lending, building houses in certain areas. So you gaining some income every month to keep on building. You see what I'm saying? But until we start that kind of system, we're gonna always be renters. You know, at 25 or 20, you should be your parents should be teaching you how to go to the bank or go to a lender to be able to purchase your home. You only have to have a credit score of 575 to get an FHA loan, 3.5% down on income to be able to apply for this particular loan. If you got the 3.5% down, you can get it. At one time, they charged 10%. You had the 10%, they will automatically give you the loan because they knew you was a wage earner. They had a system to show that, okay, we're gonna provide you this loan. So they get money. They reaping money off this loan for 30 years. You see? And then once you pay it down to 7-8% down, Now that mortgage, that mutual mortgage insurance is gone, is paid down enough where you don't have to pay that anymore. You're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
paying on the principal of the loan.
yeah. Well, brother Mark talking
And
about that
we have to
that
start a banking
PMI.
system that way.
Right, right, yeah. A lot of people don't understand that process, but you're talking about that what's called the that PMI, it's the extra insurance, until the equity is built up to 20% in the home, and then at
Right.
that point in time, just like you said, that goes away, and now you're saving more. I mean, you have more money to disperse in different ways now. So yeah, there's definitely some mathematics in it that actually makes sense, and but it starts with education. As we grow, we think that it's easy, but it's not, because we're dealing with individuals. Take like years ago. Well, I'll tell you what, let's transition and talk about these monuments that are currently here in our communities, these Confederate monuments. But we got to look back in history. How did these monuments or the names of these Confederate soldiers uh, uh, actually come in our communities? It's through a lot of social movements. And one of the organizers or the organizations that actually started these movements is an organization called the Daughters of the Confederacy. And so what they did, they took buildings, monuments, statues, and erected these men. And also, it's not a hidden secret, but the underlying ploy to this was that they took textbooks in schools and wrote down the agenda, wrote down the curriculum, which has been taking place and being taught for generation to generation through education. So that's where I'm trying to go with the education. So we have to educate individuals in our community. So as we're saying that, now I forget where I was going with it, but take like the names. Today we're seeing and hearing how individuals are at the state where they want to take down these monuments and all that. But I say, hey, let's teach harder, teach stronger in our schools, but more so at the dinner tables, in the families, family gatherings. Use social media, start teaching actual history that's taking place in our communities, because we know how to build. Not just saying build with your hands, but build mentally, build with resources, build with collaboration, build with talking, meeting with one another, sharing information, because we see it before our eyes. Professional teams, even my hometown, Chicago, our hockey team, which is called the Blackhawks. Now it's up for conversation, changing the name.
Yeah.
We see food labels. We said schools, even video games. What Madden, they're starting to change some of the teams on the video games.
Yeah.
And so we got to get to the stage where we talked about last week, self-improvement for community development.
Yeah. I mean, and you're right. Education is the most important thing, but those who have it have to share it, and 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 that's the hard part with trying to get the people to come to the table and sit down, because the system seems like they fair when in fact they not fair, because you're not looking at it from you don't see it, because it's subtle. You just pass by. Oh man, why the South Side ain't built up like it's supposed to be? Because we don't own the South Side. We not purchasing it. So we don't own it. We not trying to beautify it. They own it, and they not gonna beautify it. You can go across the track and see that it's being beautified over there every day, because
Mm-hmm.
they own it. Until we start to sit down and talk about why they bought, why they do certain things that they do in each community, and start to look at the bigger picture and saying, okay, we can do for self, then we'll never change our condition. They changing names on different buildings and stuff because due to the protests and all of that, but you never change the mindset of the people. You can
Mm-hmm.
change the name and still go up under the guise. It's still gonna be what is going Auntie Mama changing this name. But I applaud Master P and PJ Foods for bringing that to the forefront of the culture today. So they saying, okay, yeah, change the name of that. That product been around 100-some years. You know, we've been buying it just because it had been branded enough so you know you're gonna go get Aunt Jemima pancakes and syrup. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now that awareness is there, we got to capitalize on the awareness. Okay, now let's start teaching about affordable housing, how the FHA came into an existence, who is the leading mortgage lenders in the country, and then we start talking about building up the communities. You know, but they got to want to come to the table. You know, again, you can get an FHA loan if you got the 3.5% down. If your credit score is 5.7, 575 or better. Most of our people got a 600 credit score, but they ain't trying to go buy a house because they've been conditioned to rent. So we got to talk about that. I'm talking about daily. That's why our radio station is so important. We at the round table. Now we got to bring everybody else to the table and then talk about why the surnames are there. Why we go under the names that we go under. You know, everything. We have to talk about this in its entirety. But, you know, 1 hour ain't gonna do it. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to have a meeting at least once a week in the community. I'm talking about slap dab in the middle of the community. You know,
I mean, you bring up a valid point. I want to go back to that. Talking about the surnames, people think it goes right over some people's head. Yeah. Because so now I own a specific surname, but I put a lot of focus on changing the name of the school that's down the street, or attempting to protest and change the name of a military base, or change the name of a label, things that I don't own, but I have a surname, which comes from, does it come from a black person? No, it's a slave name. That I have direct control over. So the question is, why not change your surname if you want to make a difference? Because it's about education. But now people say, whoa, hold on now, brother Marcus. Hold on, brother Brian. I can't change my name.
Yeah. You got the slave master's name, and you got his mindset, really, because he's the one teaching you in school about finance. They don't even teach you in school about finance and how to go and purchase a home, or even in business school. They don't even teach you how to obtain licenses or how to start your own business. They just give you business 101, showing you a systematic system. Then they ask you to go to work for somebody, manage somebody else's business. That ain't how this works. You know, once you change your name, you change your mindset.
That's so important.
I gave my slave name back. When I gave it back, my family was like, "What? Man, we bakers." Man, that name don't mean anything. It don't have any real substance to it. I'm not connected to every baker in the world. That don't make any sense. But I know when I changed my name to Muhammad, I know I was connected to all of the Muhammads that go under that name. Mm-hmm. I'm connected to every last one of them. So if they see the name, oh, you're a Muhammad. Oh, I am too. Now we got some commonality in place. How did you become Muhammad? I became Muhammad through, I'm a part of the Nation of Islam. Oh yeah, I was too. And you know, I am. And you know, in the dialogue started to happen. Now this Muhammad from state to state, city to city.
Yeah.
All of us connected.
Right.
You see? So that's how we have to give back all this bull crap and start anew with a new mindset. So we got a Afrocentric thinking, then you got a Eurocentric thinking. We under the Eurocentric thinking. We all us line up under that, because here we are trying to get a better education, a better house. We, you know, all of this because that's what they say. Oh, keep your credit score up to 575 or 650, or get you a 700. You can get everything. But if you got a credit score of 700 and you got no cash flow, you still don't have anything. You see what I'm saying?
It's all about that mindset, like you say. And let's think about it. How important it is, because there were, you taught me this. I didn't grasp it back then when you were issuing it out. You were saying that we all learn through pictures, through photos, and you're right. And since I've been acquiring this psychology degree, we all learn through imagery. And let's think about it back. I would say people, to be fair, people that are 40 and above, they have seen or viewed the original roots. Now, you remember the character Kunta Kinte? He
Yeah,
kept trying to run off, and then the slave master kept catching him, whipping him. And then one of the images that has stuck with me for years, the slave master whipped this dude because he would not acknowledge the American name.
exactly.
His original name is Kunta Kinte, and that's his people. So he saw pride in that. But they wanted him to answer to the name of Toby. And
Yeah,
and during those days, they actually showed the whipping, the blood, and they whipped him down into submission until he recognized the name that was given to him. So this showed me the importance of a name. Take like when
yeah,
you and I were in business together. You created the names that we were in business together. Supreme Mart,
yeah.
Bobo Sports Bar and Grill. I never really got into the name of it. I helped build the brand, but you always put thought, it was creativity. You put thought into it because there was a meaning. You knew
Yeah.
that you were a brand. Even one of your sayings that you have always said that if you're in business, you must become a walking billboard. Now
Oh yeah.
explain to us when you make that statement, a walking billboard.
Yeah, I mean that means I got on material that belongs to me. My shirt say Rose City. I'm from Monroe. My shirt say Rose City. So these things people can recognize all the time. You know, uh, Kate, the radio station that you're on. I mean, this everything about it has to be presented in a space where people can recognize. And once they start to recognize it, it'll ingrain in their head. I gotta go to Bobo Sports Bar and Grill. Somebody has the building that we used to own, Bobo Sports
I
Bar and
just
Grill.
saw that yesterday.
They named it fish, hip hop fish and chips or something, right? Everybody's in an uproar about it. They're saying, why they naming hip hop? That's it's racist. No,
Racist.
they know they aiming at a particular group of people. But we'll think and then I think it's an Asian or either white person owned the particular building. That's why they saying this is racist. But I mean,
But the
they just
building been
going
for
at a
sale
target
forever.
market. They going at a target market. Bobo's being black owned, black operated. We wanted the people to know that this was our establishment. You need to come in. It's not mine. It's yours. It's black owned. If your dollar don't come in here, we won't keep it open. So those supreme more. We giving you supreme uh,
Service.
service when you come into this particular establishment. So that's why I would name certain things, the names that I would name them, because I understood a name is better than gold. When you got a good name, you can have a barter service or anything because people know that you will come and pay. Your word is good based on your name. So I mean that's what that was all about.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have to
People got to
continue
really
to
think
see
about
that.
what you're sharing with us because a name is powerful. Let's take the name Ford. That's a family name.
Yeah,
They built a business. Let's take the name Firestone. It's a
yeah.
family name, but they built a business.
And
I mean,
I mean
every brand out here comes
Rockefellers.
from a family name.
Yeah, Rockefellers. We got black Rockefeller, but they ain't a part of the Rockefeller family. So we got to get those different names back and start to build our name up, and then we become uh predominant inside the community. Chase Bank, all these people, they were they were building brands and the people J.P. Morgan started this stuff. He's dead, and the legacy is living on, and they still providing loans for people to this day. This man is dead and gone, but the legacy and the monetary assets are still there.
And I
We have to
bet you
be able
it
to do
all
the same.
started from owning an asset of a home, building equity up,
Yeah,
borrowing down that equity to build a business. Because if you got good credit, you can go get you a $50,000, $60,000 car. Now try to go ahead and get a $50,000, $60,000 loan to open up a business.
no, they don't want you to open up no business. Oh no, you want to open up what? Or your debt to ratio doesn't show that we can provide you this loan right now. But that's where we come in at. 30 million people saving $1 a month. $30 million a month times 12. There you go. You got billions of dollars to lend for homes, cars, whatever you want, businesses. You know, you got billions of dollars. I told you, Chase. Wells Fargo has $84 billion in loans for mortgages. You know, Chase has $57 billion in loans for mortgages. They getting paid money on top of money every month for the duration of time, 30 years. We have to figure out a system that we can provide this kind of cash flow for ourselves because we have the money. We just use it frivolously.
And
I'm
that's what
going
we
by
have
the
to do. Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of generational wealth. We're talking about home ownership. What are some of the benefits to create home ownership? If you own a home and is building up equity, now say if you own a bicycle shop, a car lot, now you can draw down on all that equity, go out and purchase products, inventory, sell that inventory, pay back that equity in the home, and also at the same time start providing for the family. And
Yeah.
so now you could draw down on that equity, send a child to school. If you need a lawyer in your family, you need a doctor in your family, you could do it from within based
Yeah.
on assets.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back a little bit. We was talking about the changing the name of the foods.
Sounds
Uh,
good. Yeah.
Aunt Jemima, the syrup, and I mentioned Master P. He brought to the forefront the Aunt
PJ.
Jemima, the grits, the Uncle Ben's rice. He went and did his research and studied the concept, and he's built a food company, PJ Foods, a distribution. Now this is a channel of distribution. This man created his own pancake, Uncle P's pancake, the noodles, syrup. They building generational wealth off different products now to be able for us to be able to provide an avenue to create jobs with. But they took back or understood that the names need to be changed, and they bringing a new product to the market so we can share in some of the wealth of that particular market. So that's what I mean by a good name. Now this guy is building a brand. Started in the music business. Now he's going to the food business. We don't provide any rice or anything like that in our community. We'll go out and farm the farm, but we don't provide the product once it comes to market. And that's why I applaud Master P and the guy James for starting PJ Food, because they making another dent in systemic racism, because this been there for a long time and now they reversing it.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense. So yeah, right out homegrown, Louisiana. So
Homegrown.
yeah, so we have an example right here. It's not just storybooks now. It's actually taking place in our home state in the boot, well, your home state in the boot, and making it happen.
Yeah. And then we could become distributors of these particular products. Now you from state to state distributing the product, creating jobs. State to state, city to city. Now you're moving forward. Ain't no going backwards after you start to move forward and put a system in place. Now you put a system in place for everything that we're dealing with. We can stop saying, oh, it's systemic racism. Oh yeah, we know that the data is here. We have the data to show that it's systemic racism in banking, in housing. So now what we do? How do we change it? We need to make some resolutions and put things in place to be able to move forward. We be waiting on one man to do it.
Yeah, you said, how do we do it? You're exactly right. First, if we recognize it, then at that point in time, we have to get inside. We have to get involved to actually understand the processes, understand the systems. Then at that point, get inside and actually make a change from within. We can't always be on the outside protesting, trying to make that man, that woman change their business model. It's their business. So until you can have your own business, how would you feel someone trying to make a private business, trying to make you change your business model that you sacrifice? You've taken all the risks. No, we got to stop that. We have to start taking self-responsibility, self-initiative, and action, creating, improving ourselves initially, change our mindset. Wherever I am today, however I got there, if I'm satisfied with it, keep it going. If I'm not, I have to change something in order to improve tomorrow. And I cannot do it by myself.
Yeah. Like you say, it's education, man. And KIEZ 106.7 is a model for us showing that we can educate each other through radio, through the community roundtable, and talking about issues like this that takes us to the next level. You know, now our main thing should be bringing creating our own banking system.
Hmm.
Bring One United Bank. It's the largest black-owned bank in the United States. We need to have one of those in every city that house black people. Once we do that, that go to trickle down effect. Then we can create new avenues. You know, Fair Housing Act. We don't have to even worry about it anymore because we
But
have a bank in our system. In
what's the
our
difference
city.
if it's, is there a major difference if it's black owned? Because if the mindset is still there, you still have the
Yeah,
same challenges.
yeah, but yeah, the mindset for starting black owned banks came out of hunger or the necessity. So they not thinking Afrocentric. They thinking, oh, this black owned, we gonna provide things in our community for our community. You see what I'm saying? So they ain't as Eurocentric as Wells Fargo. They were built for them, by them, and they're gonna, keep on allocating funding for that particular community. Same thing with the FHA. We weren't living in public housing at first. The public housing started, they started creating public housing. FHA started creating public housing for white people under the Depression. And then after the fact, they gave black owned public housing after that. I mean, they built black public housing after they started to develop white public housing.
Yeah,
See,
the
all this
social outreach.
racism, huh?
I was just saying the social outreach that was taking place at that time, and that's when the
Yeah,
civil rights era we had to fight for the same benefits.
yeah. And then we just stayed in public housing. We, Now we still in public housing. Very few of us own our own homes. No, we got to start to talk about how we create things to own our own home. Even
Right.
if One United Bank has the Eurocentric thinking, we have to bring them down back to their original platform and say, look, this was about the people, for the people. Let's make it about the people, for the people again. We the ones hungry, starving, and naked and outdoors. We need certain things in our community, and we can provide them, whether it be One United Bank or the community bank. Start to educate them again about the systems. So therefore, we can build these systems to be able to provide for ourselves. We need community housing, need to be affordable in our community. And the only way we create that is we save that money together. If we're not saving any money together, we can't. He who controls the finance control the world. And you see Wells Fargo, they control the world because they control some of the finance. JP Morgan's of the world, they control the world because they control the finance. You see? And
Some of the greater needs in our community: food, shelter, clothing. So we have to get
yeah,
to the stage of the basics of education at a young age and continue to educate all the way up. Now, we cannot just expect and depend on the school system. The school system is just an addition to the home teachings. And that's
yeah,
where we have to focus at the dinner table. Mother, father, brother, sister, educating one another about the qualities of life. And that's where we have to understand the qualities. And it's going to take education. It's going to take self-improvement. It's going to take love. It's going to take resources. It's going to take a coexistence in ourselves, in our community. It's going to take co-economics. It's going to take cooperatives working together. We got to get it. We cannot do it individually. It's going to take a group. And that's where in Africa, we were taught that. We were taught it takes a tribe to raise a child's
oh, yeah,
mindset. And it takes the
oh, yeah.
entire tribe to educate because everyone brings different resources to the table. And then I can't provide them all. So we would trade. You bring this, I bring this, and we trade with one another. That's a community.
Yeah, as a community, we got to get back to it. I mean, a lot of times there's got to be a greater dialogue. We got to start to communicate more. Get a new understanding. Once you start to communicate, see, we still living under the slave codes. I'm not gonna get involved with 3 or 4 more people at one time because the slave master's gonna come up and he gonna, like, what y'all doing in this circle? No, we got to get in this circle and start to talk. You know, they it may be perceived as like it's racism. Man, it ain't racism. We have to get back to our roots and start talking. Oh, Mark, you a racist? No, I'm not. I deal with white people all the time. I deal with Asian people all the time. I'm not a racist. I'm just talking commonality about my people. I got to have some pride in myself. If I don't have it, then I'll continue to live in dilapidation and don't care about nothing around me, or don't care about the people. I'll be able to shoot somebody down easily that looks just like me. You know, nah, I'm over that. I'm dealing with what life is really all about, and things happen because one person doesn't have the have and the have-nots. One person doesn't have, and the other one does. That's why people commit certain crimes. All of these different things happen because of people don't have what they need as a group or as a community. We have to get what we need.
Exactly right, brother. Well said. Well said. We must stop focusing on our differences and understand our differences can we can collaborate them together and build even bigger individually. Well, brother, that's our time each and every week. Here, brother Brian and brother Mark is here on KIEZ 106.7 FM. But before we go, I don't think I left anything off on our talking points this week, did I?
No. We stayed on point and we did what we needed to do. I mean, KIEZ, man, 106.7. This is a new platform, man. This news that they need. This news that you can use. This ain't no commercial radio where you talking about some jibber jabber. This news that you can use.
Right. Hey, until next week, together, we are the voice of the community.
See you later, bro. Signing out.